What is going on, everybody? What is happening? Welcome back to another episode of 6 for 1, the show where we give you 6 shows for the price of one show. My name is Paul Paul. I will be your tour guide on this journey through these 6 shows for the price of one. So thank you so much for joining me here. I am very grateful to be back in the saddle, back in the chair, back behind the mic, back however you want to say it, back in the 6 for 1 studio. And we are rolling. We have a lot to cover tonight. We have a lot to catch up on in the world of pro wrestling. We have a lot to catch up on in the world of UFC. We have a lot to catch up on in the world of sports, and then we're going to get into some other stuff. This is going to be a fun episode. I'm very excited. We are going to start off our very first segment with, yet again, WroPrestling, the show. Not WroPrestling, the clothing line, but WroPrestling, the show. It is, I am not wearing a WroPrestling garb this time around. Figured I'd give that a little break. But WroPrestling is the sponsor and the name of this segment on this show. So if you are interested in professional wrestling, minimalist professional wrestling, T-shirts and hats and everything like that, head over to WroPrestling.com, get your stuff there. That would be amazing. So, but here on WroPrestling, the show, we are going to talk about the show of shows. The showcase of the immortals, Wrestlemania. And the WrestleMania was ended last night. It was the last 2 days. It was Saturday, Sunday night. So it was a 2-night spectacular in beautiful Dallas, Texas. And yeah, it was a big event this year. It was a big event. I feel like the last 2 WrestleManias have been a little weird, just with COVID in 2020. And then last year was kind of like, there were fans there, but it was kind of like the first WrestleMania coming out of the pandemic. And I think WWE is still kind of trying to find what their touring and what their live events were going to look like and all that. But last year's WrestleMania was cool. I think this year's WrestleMania was way, way better. Way better than last year, and I like that they did it over 2 nights, right? Like I am not in the camp of WrestleMania should be one night. I think I like the fact that they did it over 2 nights because whoa, headphones are going out here. I like that they did it over 2 nights because I remember watching WrestleMania 35 in 2019 and it just being so fucking long, like so long that it's like, when is, like, can we just, like, I literally went to the gym, went to the grocery store, did all that, like, when the show was kind of getting going, and then was able to come back and watch the main few matches on that show. And I just think WrestleMania got to the point where, you know, if it's 7 hours and it's, you know, a 7-hour commitment for a fan to watch, that's too much. That is way too much for people to commit on one given night. I mean, that's an entire day, starting in the afternoon and then going all the way through to midnight, 1 a.m., whenever those things would get done. So I like the 2-night thing. Night 1 was pretty cool. You had the obviously. Well, let's start at the Hall of Fame on Friday night. The Hall of Fame was Friday night. The Steiners obviously went in. Undertaker went in, Queen Sharmell went in, but Undertaker was a big one, right? Like he was kind of the guy this year that went in. He was the marquee attraction for the Hall of Fame this year, and that was really, really fucking cool because he gave a great speech. I really liked his speech. It was a very long speech, but I think it got across what he wanted to get across was like, hey, this is what it took to be the Undertaker and to be Mark Calloway, and there's nobody more respected in the business than Taker, and so to see him get his moment and that ovation that he got at the beginning of the Hall of Fame was crazy, and Vince inducting him just made the whole thing feel so big. And then Taker comes out and he gets that 10-minute standing ovation where they won't even let him get a word in. And when he came out, actually, it was so cool to he had the Backstreet Boys mic going on, but it was so cool to see because he had that mic, he was mic'd up, and he hugged Vince and he said, "I love you," and Vince said, "I love you too." And that was really, really cool to see. And just two big, burly, grown-ass men, in the middle of a professional wrestling ring, just hugging each other, just saying, "I love you, man." And that's really cool. That's really cool. And so the Hall of Fame, badass. Congratulations to The Undertaker. Not that he really needs my congratulations all that much, but hey, congratulations to you, Mark. Congratulations, Mark. But no, so then we get into WrestleMania Night 1. Obviously, The Miz and Logan Paul were against the Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio came out in that cool the red, white, and blue thing, which I think was a tribute to Eddie Guerrero. That was pretty badass. And then, I liked the way that they did that. And then Miz and Logan Paul win. And then Miz, surprise, surprise, being the ever-evolving heel that Miz is, he turns on Logan Paul, and he is and cements himself as, the asshole that Miz is. But no, so I thought that was all beautifully done. The switch on Miz's face when they were like this at the end, and then you just see Miz go from to and then he hits him with the skull crushing finale, and that's all she wrote for Logan Paul at WrestleMania. But Logan Paul at WrestleMania, he did amazing. Logan Paul was a stud in that ring. He's a natural athlete, obviously, but he did amazing for what he was there to do, and it's cool to see. It's cool to see people like that kind of embrace the world of WWE, because I feel like for a long time, like, WWE was kind of the sideshow circus, and it was it was sort of not mainstream, and it's just cool to see mainstream stars like Logan Paul and Pat McAfee just kind of embrace pro wrestling as the beautiful, amazing art form that it is, and that's pretty cool, and not that. The pro wrestling is always going to have that kind of carny stench to it, I think, in the eyes of mainstream culture. But, I think that those guys doing that helps bring it the other way. And I hope we get to a point where it no longer has that stench, and it's looked at as a very valid form of entertainment and a very valid form of, I say it all the time, violent theater. It's violent theater, and it should be looked at as an amazing thing, because it really is. And nothing more amazing at WrestleMania Night 1 than the return of one American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is back in the WWE. He had a really cool WrestleMania moment. The whole place went black, and then you hear him come over the mic. Wrestling has more than one royal family. And then his AEW music plays, which I don't think anybody expected. And it was just cool. And the pop that he got, man, that was incredible. That pop was insane. And to see Cody Rhodes, who, left WWE in 2015, 2016, and he left as Stardust, which was not going to ever get a big WrestleMania moment, I don't think. And he left as Stardust, and then he goes out on the indies to Ring of Honor, kind of reinvents himself in Ring of Honor, and then does the whole AEW thing, then comes back to the WWE and gets this hero's welcome, and is obviously on a big money deal there. And just to see Cody Rhodes get his due, and I saw part of the deal for him to come back was that He was going to come back, and he was also going to be an executive producer on the A&E biography series about the American dream, the road, baby. He's going to produce that, and that's pretty badass. It's cool to see that come full circle, and this is like, I said this when he was when it was first rumored that he was going to come to the WWE, and that whole thing. I said that Cody Rhodes coming to the WWE from AEW is really kind of the first jump the other way. Like, we've seen a lot of guys jump from the WWE, get released, and then go to AEW, or guys like Adam Cole just not renew their contracts with the WWE and leave and go to AEW. This is the first time we've seen somebody, especially somebody who was high up in that company like Cody Rhodes, and we've seen him go from AEW and leave kind of the new upstart promotion to go back to the evil empire of the WWE. I mean, that is, and not that WWE is an evil empire. I think WWE is overall a pretty good company, but it just had, there is that kind of like, that kind of perception of it, I guess. And so, like, I think this is going to be looked back on as one of the biggest moments in this era of professional wrestling, just because it does represent that kind of first jump the other way from AEW to WWE, not vice versa. So cool to see him. He and Seth Rollins had a really good match. I think I really enjoyed it. But just that entrance and just that, the unveiling of Cody Rhodes back in WWE was worth the price of admission alone. It was worth the subscription to Peacock. So yeah. But no. So then WrestleMania Night 1 wrapped up with the Steve Austin, Kevin Owens segment where they did the KO show, and then it was a match. And man, when I was watching that, the only thing I was thinking was Kevin Owens is a damn good heel, because he just was running down Steve Austin, I mean, he's been doing it for weeks, but like running down Steve Austin, running down Texas, running down the whole thing. And it was just so cool, like, to see that moment happen. And then Steve Austin, comes out. You knew something was going to happen when he came out with the knee braces on, came out ready to roll. And then they had a match that I don't think is going to be a Dave Meltzer 5-star classic or anything like that. But for what it was intended to do, it was amazing. It was awesome. I loved every second of it. I mean, that was to see Steve Austin back in a WWE ring after 19 years, which has been they've hammered that point home a lot over over WrestleMania week. That Steve Austin, back in the ring, 19 years, the whole deal. So it was just really cool to see that and to see him go toe to toe with Kevin Owens, and then Byron Saxton gets a stunner, and the whole thing. And we'll get to Steve Austin a little bit in a little bit, and then because moving into night 2, it kicks off with that amazing Triple H thing where Triple H comes out, and he's in the ring, leaves his boots in the ring, and he does the welcome to WrestleMania. He does that whole thing, and the pyro goes off or whatever, and Triple H gets his moment to say thank you to the fans. And as a fan, I just want to say, and I said this in the last episode, but as a fan, I just want to say thank you to Triple H. Thank you, Hunter, because you have given us so much entertainment. You were an amazing performer. You were an amazing heel. You were an amazing babyface. DX was awesome. Evolution was awesome. Even the Authority stuff was awesome. I mean, like, he's had really big matches, and he's moved the business forward in ways that I don't think he gets enough credit for. And so thank you, Triple H. Thank you. And thank you for the memories. Thank you for the, just the years of entertainment. We appreciate it, and I appreciate it. And personally, thank you for being an inspiration to everybody. I can't say enough good things about Triple H, and I think that, like, Cody Rhodes even talked about this. He had a moment with Triple H on his bus, and he had the bus, and everybody kind of came through and said hi and said welcome back or whatever, and Triple H was the last one, and they had kind of a special moment, and it just seems like Triple H is just a really good guy. Obviously some people don't like him, but for the most part, pretty well liked guy, and I think a good man all in general, and a hell of a performer over the years. So excited to see what's next for him. But it was cool to see him get his moment to say thank you to the fans at WrestleMania in front of 70,000 people. Cool to see that. So night 2, to me, the highlights of night 2 of WrestleMania were, it was the last 2 matches. I mean, honestly, like Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory was amazing. It was cool to see Pat McAfee in there. He did a hell of a job in that match. He gets the win over Austin Theory. You know, they do some cool spots, and with the top rope stuff, does a backflip, lands on his feet in the middle of the ring, and then jumps up there, and they do the whole superplex thing. Pretty cool to see that. Cool to see Pat in the ring at WrestleMania. And that's, I mean, dream come true for him. And he's living everyone's, like, we all find ourselves living vicariously through that, right? Because he's like, he's living that dream, and that's really, really fucking cool. So, but then after the Pat McAfee Austin Theory match, then Vince McMahon, who came out before that match, but Vince McMahon, starts unbuttoning the shirt, starts making it look like he's gonna get in the ring, and then eventually goes, nah, just kidding, I'm actually getting in the ring, and then him and Pat McAfee have a big match. So when it's all said and done, the rumors that came out a couple months ago about, the board and the lineup saying Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee actually did come true. That actually did happen. It wasn't, again, not a Dave Meltzer 5-star classic by any means, but for what it was meant for, and to see Vince McMahon in the ring at 76, 77 years old, whatever the hell he is now, that was pretty damn cool. And then, Steve Austin comes out. He gives Austin Theory a stunner, which Austin Theory sold that stunner. I mean, that's one of the coolest sells of a stunner I've ever seen. That man jumped probably 5 feet in the air, and was over the top rope when he was selling that stunner. I mean, that was cool to see. And then he gives Vince a stunner, obviously one of the worst stunners of all time. That was just, I was laughing. Steve Austin was laughing. Everybody was laughing. I put it on the WroPrestling story that, I was like, what is happening? What is going on right now? It was just so much fun. And it was just so cool to see Vince McMahon in the ring. And as bad as that stunner was, just for old time's sake, it was so cool to see Vince McMahon botch yet another stunner. Just because that first one in MSG in 97 was so memorable for how terrible it was. This one blew that out of the water completely. I mean, this one was next level terrible, but it, again, for what it needed to be and what it was intended to do, it was amazing. And then, he gives him and Pat McAfee start drinking beers together, and then he gives Pat the stunner, and Pat's sell of that stunner was amazing too. It wasn't The Rock where he's, flipping backwards. It wasn't the Austin Theory jumping up in the air, but it was just that simple go from taking the stunner, standing upright, and then falling straight back. I mean, that was classic stuff. I loved that. That whole segment was awesome. And then you move along to Brock and Roman Reigns. Brock versus Roman was kind of what this whole thing was building to, and a damn good WrestleMania main event. I mean, if I must say so myself, I think it was a damn good WrestleMania main event. I don't think that they were, I mean, it wouldn't really have made sense to put both belts on Brock, because Roman is obviously their guy. He's the franchise. He's the guy that they're going with moving forward. And so, just it makes sense, right? Like everything about it makes sense that Roman would go over in that match. Parched. But yeah, so Roman goes over Brock. The ending of that match was crazy. It looked like Brock had him in that Kimura, and then Roman gets out, and the finish goes. I was freaking out at that finish. I mean, it was insane, and to see Roman get his get his moment on the stage with both the belts with Paul Heyman, and it was kind of like Roman just being Roman, and it is cool to see that, and good for Roman Reigns, good for WWE, just for putting on a hell of a show over 2 nights. I mean, that is not an easy task. That is a tall order to do WrestleMania over 2 nights, and I think they did it really, really well. And I was very happy with this year's WrestleMania. I found myself like Saturday night I had to work, and so I didn't get to see Saturday night. I did catch night 2. I caught up on Saturday night when I got home, but I was watching the clips or whatever, or I just kind of went through it and watched the highlights of it. But I did catch night 2. And it was just, I found myself giddy like I was 10 years old again. I mean, it just is like WrestleMania is just, that's what it is. I mean, it's the best show of the year for professional wrestling in America. And damn, and I would argue the world. I mean, nobody does that shit better than WWE. I mean, they have got, their production quality is next level. Their theatrics are next level. They're, just the amount of people in there next. I mean, it just, everything is so tight about WrestleMania, and to see that, and and to have a normal-ish WrestleMania, and it looks like 2 nights is going to be the new normal. So I'm excited about that. I think that that's a good move, just because you can get more people, those big WrestleMania paydays and things like that. But I like that we're kind of back to WrestleMania being WrestleMania and having big builds and things like that. And just this was a damn good WrestleMania. I really enjoyed this one. It was a ton of fun, and but now it's hard because the post WrestleMania lull is in full effect. I mean, Brock's gone. I can't imagine Rousey's going to be sticking around. I don't really know that. I mean, I don't know. We'll see on Friday, I guess, but I can't imagine that she's going to jump right back in. I think she was in there for WrestleMania, and then she's probably gone again. So we're now kind of in that WrestleMania post WrestleMania lull, but we'll get through that. And this just makes me excited for next year's WrestleMania. I mean, that's gonna be badass. So moving along to our next show, and that is Fighting Words. And Fighting Words is where we talk about all things MMA, all things UFC. There's a big UFC fight this next weekend, April 9th, 2022. It is headlined by Alexander Volkanovski and Chan Sung Jung. Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan are the co-main. UFC 273. So it's going to be a good fight this weekend. I'm really excited for this weekend and what else happening. And it's just going to be, I'm just really pumped up about, I think this is kind of a sleeper card for the UFC. I don't think it's probably getting as much attention as it probably deserves, but it's a good card. And so what we're going to do right now is we are going to go through the 4 fights on the main card and look at the odds and just look at where maybe some potential good bets are, and also just look at kind of where and just talk about each fight. So we're going to start with the first fight on the card, and that is Mackenzie Dern versus Tisha Torres. That's going to be a good fight, right? Women's strawweight. So Mackenzie Dern, I believe, is this her? So Mackenzie Dern is, so she's at strawweight. She lost her last fight against Marina Rodriguez, but she is fighting Tisha Torres. That's going to be a good fight. Odds have it Mackenzie Dern is a minus 122 favorite. Tisha Torres plus 100 underdog. But that's basically a pick 'em, right? I mean, like, those odds are not insane at all. I mean, those are so close that it's basically a pick 'em fight. I'm excited to see what's going to happen in that fight because, it's a grappler versus a wrestler pretty much. And, yeah, it's just going to be an interesting one. But there's nothing that stands out to me as like, oh, you should throw a bunch of money on this person or that person. Nothing like that stands out. So, but then we move along to the next fight on the card. And the next fight on the card is Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev. And Khamzat Chimaev is a minus 600 underdog. Gilbert Burns is a plus 420 favorite. Or no. Boy, it's been a long day. Hamza Chimaev minus 600 favorite. Gilbert Burns plus 420 underdog. Listen, Hamza Chimaev is the next big thing in MMA, in the UFC. I mean, he really is. Like, he's so good. He's beating people. You know, he's doing his thing. But, you know, he's worked at, or he's been fighting at middleweight and welterweight and just kind of going back and forth. And so I think, in my opinion, Hamza Chimaev at welterweight versus Gilbert Burns. I think people are probably counting Gilbert Burns out in this fight because Gilbert Burns he beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I mean, he is the elite of the elite at 170. I mean, he fought for a belt last year. And so plus 420 for Gilbert Burns. I like that. I like those odds. That is, I mean, if you're going to put money on somebody, that's a good. Gilbert Burns is a damn good person to put money on because he is skilled as fuck. He is skilled as fuck. He is a grappler. Hamza Chimaev is also very skilled, but we haven't seen him tested against the level of competition that Gilbert Burns is. So to me, these look like hype odds where, you know, Hamza Chimaev is the next big thing. He is, he's been surging against kind of these mid-level competition guys. And this is his first big test, and he's an overwhelming favorite. I don't think that those odds reflect what might happen in the fight. I think that Gilbert Burns has a damn good chance to win the fight because he is damn good. So Gilbert Burns at a plus 420 underdog. I mean, I like that. So Gilbert Burns, if you're going to put money on somebody for this fight, Gilbert Burns is a damn good person to put money on. And then you move along to the co-main event, which is Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan. And obviously, you know, Aljamain Sterling and Petr Yan fought once, and this is the rematch. It ended in a disqualification because Petr Yan hit Aljamain Sterling with a knee when he was a downed opponent, which you can't do. You cannot do that. So Aljamain Sterling is a plus 360 underdog. Petr Yan minus 500 favorite. Petr Yan was in control of that first fight before the knee happened. I mean, he was winning that fight 100% before the infamous knee on the ground happened. And he was in control. And I think that, you know, these odds reflect that. That being said, Aljamain Sterling Aljamain Sterling is one of those guys, like, he is such a good grappler that you can never count him out 100% because he is dangerous. And going into this fight, he is the undisputed champ. Petr Yan is the interim champ. And Aljamain Sterling is the heavy underdog in this fight. I actually agree with that. I think that, you know, based on the last fight, he should be an underdog in this fight, but I don't think he is out of the fight. I think he definitely has a chance to win. It just is a matter of, can he implement his grappling more than Petr Yan can implement his striking and grappling? And can Aljamain Sterling implement his striking as well? I mean, he's a very good striker as well, but, you know, it's just kind of that styles make fights thing, and I think Petr Yan has a very dangerous style for a guy like Aljamain Sterling. I think that it's going to be tough to beat, you know, period. And Aljamain Sterling is no exception to that. So, and then we move along to featherweight. We move along to Alexander Volkanovski versus Chan Sung Jung for the featherweight title. Alexander Volkanovski is sitting right now at a minus 800 underdog. Chan Sung Jung Korean Zombie is sitting at a plus 520 underdog. Oh, I keep doing that. Alexander Volkanovski is a minus 800 favorite. Chan Sung Jung plus 520 underdog. There we go. We're getting it. We were a little slow at first, but we're getting the hang of this. So Alexander Volkanovski, I think he should be the favorite in this fight. Chan Sung Jung, I think that he is a good fighter, but I think he is, I don't think he's quite on the level of Alexander Volkanovski. I mean, Alexander Volkanovski's gone toe-to-toe with Max Holloway. Chan Sung Jung has had great fights himself, but I kind of agree with these odds. But if I was going to pick one person from UFC 273 to put money on for this next weekend, for the April 9th UFC 273 card, I would put money on Gilbert Burns, because he is a heavy underdog in this fight, and I don't think his skills warrant that. I think he is a much more dangerous fighter than these odds are giving him credit for. So that's my kind of one pick. If I was going to put money on one person on this main card, it would be Gilbert Burns. And I'm just excited to see kind of what UFC 273, how everything shakes out, what that ends up looking like, how those fights play out and everything. I am just very excited for that. So now we are moving along to what is sports uninformed. Sports Uninformed. Sports Uninformed is the place for the shittiest sports takes of all time. And, Bruce Arians is stepping down as the head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Not really sure what that means. I don't really know who Bruce Arians is. I don't really know. The Bucs play what? Football? Fucking sport do they play? And I know they're in Tampa, which, I mean, Tampa's fun, right? But, who the hell are the Bucs? What do they do? No, but Bruce Arians is, he's stepping down and going more into a front office role for the Bucs. So that's cool. A lot of conspiracy theories out there about did Tom Brady say, he'll only come back if Bruce Arians steps away as the head coach, and, this all this bullshit that people want to throw out there. But I don't know if any of that's real. I really have no idea. I think that it's a nice thought, because of just happenstance. But I don't know if there's any truth to that, and I don't know if. I mean, that would just be really, really fucking petty, I think. But I mean, who knows? I don't know Tom Brady, so. Okay. So, we are also talking about all things NCAA tournament. We made a bracket on this show a couple weeks back, and it turns out it wasn't bad. I had Kansas going all the way and winning the whole damn thing, and guess what? Kansas went all the way and won the whole damn thing. Uninformed my ass! Uninformed my ass. I know more about sports than any of those motherfuckers on Sports Center, anybody on Fox Sports. I definitely know more than Colin Cowherd. So eat shit, but I was correct. Everybody else was wrong. And I will take my money. My Venmo will be linked below, so you can send me my winnings on Venmo. So I actually know nothing, but that was a lucky ass guess. I picked Kansas because I know they're good at basketball, and they went all the way. So congratulations to the Jayhawks. Let's go basketball. So now we're not talking about much sports here, folks. I've already talked about the things I want to talk about, which is WrestleMania, UFC. Sports Uninformed. I love the segment. It's figuring out how I need to do it, but, whatever. So we're moving along now to, we'll do this one first. We'll do this one first because I'm already fired up. I'm already all fired up. So why not get me more fired up, and why not talk about the problem with a lot of gyms? That is the title of this episode of Fitness Freaks. The problem with a lot of gyms, and this is based on an experience I had today. I went into the gym, great intentions, went into the gym. I said, okay, I'm going to go get a workout in. I worked out in a couple days. I'm going to go do my full body routine. It'll be great. So I go in the gym. go warm up on the treadmill. You know, I'm at this point 3 cups of coffee into my day, so I'm feeling very energetic. I'm drinking water. I'm feeling good. I do my warm up on the treadmill. I go over. I start warming up. I'm doing deadlifts. Okay, so I got 135 on the bar. Boom, repping it out. Boom, repping it out. Okay, then I get 185 on the bar. Easy. Repping it out. Just getting the body warmed up. Feeling good. Then I get 225 on the bar. Repping it out. Still warming up. Then we start moving, 245, and I'm going for sets of 6 to 8. So, I'm kind of going 245, which is like not super heavy for me, but it's, a good working weight for deadlifts on, I haven't been pushing the strength numbers a whole lot. So, you know what? To everybody make fun of me for lifting 245. You can fuck yourself. But no, so I got like 245 on the bar, 250, something like that. And, I'm doing deadlifts. And I'm not going to lie to you folks. I'm doing them good form. I'm not dropping the damn things. I'm doing them well. Repping them out, 6 to 8, like I do. And all of a sudden, I see the gym manager coming around the corner. And this isn't good because flashback to about 2 months ago, I'm deadlifting. I'm working with 315 at that time. And I was doing more strength-based stuff, like lower reps, higher weight. And I'm working with 315, and I'm doing like sets of 3. And same gym manager comes over to me and says, hey, you need to control that on the way down a lot more because we get complaints from the people below us. Listen, this is a second floor gym, and you got free weights around here. You might as well just put up fucking no deadlifting signs everywhere. If you don't want people to deadlift and you don't want weights dropped on the floor, you might I was so frustrated that day. Okay. But it's been like a couple months. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm going in there. I'm deadlifting. I think I'm being very controlled. I'm not dropping them. I'm coming up, going down, in control the entire time. She comes over and tells me, you need to control that or you need to use the thick mats because this is unacceptable. And I'm like, I literally just like, all right, whatever. Fuck you want me to do? And so this just got me thinking about, by the way, the thick mats that she wanted me to use are this fucking thick. They're like, it's a mattress. It's like deadlifting on a mattress. Okay? And what these people don't understand is that when you go from pulling from the floor to pulling from 6 inches off the ground, you're no longer doing deadlifts. You're now doing rack pulls, and you're doing something that it messes with the mechanics of the entire fucking movement. And people like this fucking numbskull, people like, people that work in these gyms that enforce these fucking stupid rules that just, it's like they've never seen anyone deadlift heavy weight before. And they come in and they enforce these dumb fucking rules. And it just and they say things like you need to have more control on the way down. Okay, but what that does and what that shows people what to do is you can go as fast as you want on the way up, but then you have to like set that down. Well, guess what? That's gonna get people fucking hurt. I hope this bitch sees this. I really do, because that's gonna get people hurt. Because guess what? Deadlifts, you're not supposed to go down super fucking slow. Because down is, come on. What are we doing here? I'm already all fired up, and I don't want to get more fired up. But this is the problem with these things, okay? It's like they have these solutions. They have these problems, these piddly-ass problems, which are people, they're getting complaints from the other businesses in this building, right? They're getting complaints from people who aren't concerned with the people working out. They're concerned with their business. Okay, I get that, right? But their solutions to these problems are solutions that are A, ineffective, and B, are going to get people hurt. And you're telling me to change the entire mechanics of these movements. And you're telling me to go from pulling from the floor, weight sitting on the floor, on a 1/4-inch horse stall mat to now I'm pulling from 6 inches above the floor. That's a rack pull. I hate to tell you that, but that's a rack pull. That's not a deadlift. So the idea that I can just use these 6-inch mattresses to put my weights on so that the people below don't complain, and it's supposed to be the same thing as deadlifting from the floor. No, it's not. And if you're somebody like me who's practiced deadlifting from the fucking floor, and then you go and you try to deadlift from 6 inches above, your mechanics are all fucked up. So, because you're changing the mechanics of the entire fucking movement. So you're no longer just deadlifting, it's no longer a deadlift. You're doing something completely foreign that is not, it's like deadlifting. It's so stupid to me. I find it so stupid, which is why I'm looking for a new gym. So if you hear this and you're the manager at that gym who came over and said that to me, just know that you're full of shit because you don't know what you're talking about. You're telling people you're giving people solutions that solve your business problems, and you're telling people they need to change their fitness routine and things that can actually hurt people. You're full of shit, and everyone needs to know that. I don't get fired up a lot like this, but when people go out of their way to come over, and obviously I know what I'm doing. Obviously I'm not a fucking amateur, and they go out of their way to come over and tell me that I need to be more controlled with my movements, which are pretty damn controlled already. And they obviously have never deadlifted in their fucking life. It just drives me up a fucking wall, dude. Like, it just drives me fucking crazy. And what drives me more crazy is I know that they're telling other people the same thing, and other people are doing this, and that is what's going to get people hurt. That's what's going to mess up people's backs. That's what's going to, slip a disc or something like that. Because if you do a deadlift and you do it right, it's a smooth movement. It's not putting a lot of pressure on your back. But then when you deadlift and then you're being forced because of some dumb business rules that you have to go down super, super, super duper slow, and you can't let the weights clang at all on the floor, that's going to hurt people. Okay? That's going to mess up people's backs. It's going to mess up the mechanics of the movement. The idea that they're fitness professionals is fucking stupid. Is dumb. You can go on Instagram and get more fitness professionals than these people. And then they want to tell people who actually know what they're doing how to do things. And that's where I just have a problem. That's where I got big problems. And the solutions that they're giving them are dangerous. Are dangerous, and they're going to hurt people. And yeah, it's great that you guys won't get complaints from fucking Blaze Pizza down below. But for people who are actually, doing the work and deadlifting, it's not a good solution. So, again, I hope these people see this. I really do. And I hope that they know that they're on notice for not knowing a damn thing about what they're talking about. And that they're on notice for putting people in danger to protect their business. That's what I hope. All right. So, moving along now that I'm a little less fired up, now that I got that out, this is a good outlet for me. Now that I got that out, we're going to move along to one of my favorite segments on this show, and that is Teachings of Titans. And today we're looking at one of my favorite Titans of all time, and that is Conor McGregor. And say what you want about Conor McGregor, his antics outside of the cage, his whatever, he is one of the most successful people in mixed martial arts in general, right? And he has provided us with some gems over the years. And so we're gonna look at a couple videos of his here. Let me find them real quick. So, let's go here. This is riveting audio, I know. But this is a video show, so you're watching me do it. So, again, there's reasons we do the video thing. But, okay. So this first clip is called Carry On. I don't know if that's actually what it's called, but that's what we're calling it. So Conor McGregor, Carry On.
Your past, and you'll end up staying there. It's okay to look back and admire it, but you carry on. People say a loss can make or break a fighter, but trust me, a win can also make or break a fighter, because they get comfortable with a win. People can get comfortable with a win and slack off then. Slack off on the training, slack off on the diet. They've won one. They're winners now. That's not me, you know. You sleep on a win and you'll wake up with a loss.
Sleep on a win, you'll wake up with a loss. I like that because it's basically saying, like, just keep moving forward. Like, just keep moving in the direction you want to go. Don't sit there and stare at what has happened, or don't dwell on your past successes. Don't dwell on your past failures. Just carry on what you're doing, and just keep the focus on putting one foot in front of the other, and making moves and doing what you do. And you know, if you, I love the quote that if you look too hard at your past, like if you stare too far in the past, you'll end up staying there. And it's right. Like, if you just keep dwelling on things that have happened and keep dwelling on, you know, how, you know, your life is shit and all this and you know, whatever, you're not going to have any, you know, you're not going to see any improvement in your life. You're just going to keep staying in the same rut that you've always been in, because you're not like, you're really not like, you're really not fixing anything. You're just dwelling on it. And like, that is not I don't think that's a sustainable approach to, you know, improving your life. Is just, you know, dwelling on how your life is shit is just going to bring more shit. And it's just going to bring more problems. Like, if you just focus on all the problems in your life, more problems are going to present themselves. But if you just keep focusing on, okay, how can I just do this better? How can I just get better at this? How can I get one step better? How can I, you know, it's definitely it's a much better approach. So, yeah, and I love that from Conor McGregor. I think that is good advice. I think that more people need to not just dwell on how their life sucks, and especially people who, you know, maybe go through rough childhoods or whatever. You can't spend that much time dwelling on that shit. You know, a lot of people have rough childhoods, myself included. And the amount of time I spend just, you know, dwelling on it is, I try not to, because it's like, what's that really going to do? You know, it's like, it doesn't do much. And I'm focused more on how can I make my life now as good as it can possibly be, versus, wow, my life then was such dog shit. And I think if you focus too much on that, your life now is just going to be a reflection of that, and it's just going to be bullshit, and it's going to suck. And that's one thing that I really like from Conor McGregor is just, you know, don't stare at your past so long, you know, and whether it's good or bad, like, even if, like, in the past you've done these amazing things and you've had all these amazing accomplishments, if you just sit there and stare at that, that's pretty much the highest you're going to go. I mean, like, if you just hang your hat on that and say, man, I did that. And, you know, it's like the perennial, you know, the guy who wears his high school ring is like 87. Tom Segura has a good bit about that. 87. Scored 13 touchdowns that year. You know, just like who's stuck in that. You know, it's like the same thing. Like, if you hang your hat on what you've accomplished in the past, or you hang your hat on what you've failed on in the past, you're robbing yourself of the right now, and you're robbing yourself of the future of, if you just said, okay, how can I make what I have in front of me the best it possibly can be, and how can I set myself up to move forward, and how can I just carry on with life. And I think that that's one thing I really like out of Mr. I'm McGregor, mate. Conor McGregor, mate. That is a gem, mate. That is a fucking gem. But yeah, and then the next one is Conor McGregor talking about work ethic and getting what you want out of life. So let's listen to this as well.
money, you want this, you want what I got, you gotta put in the fucking work. And as far as I'm seeing, nobody's putting in the work. Everyone's talking. Everyone's thinking, just because Conor has it, I should have it. No. I didn't always have it. There's a reason why I have it. I had to work my fucking bollocks out to get it. So, and here I am still working while they're talking.
While they're talking. You're working while they're talking. Yeah, that's an interesting one, right? Like, obviously he's very successful. Obviously, all that stuff. But I think that applies to a lot of people as well. Like, if you see someone who's doing things that you can't do, it doesn't mean that they have something you don't. It just means, it might, but like, it means that they have taken steps that you haven't taken. So like, the only examples I can give you are like examples in my life, so that's what I'm gonna do. And I don't just mean to make this all about me, but like I really am trying to draw a parallel. I think like over the last few years I've gotten really into guitar, and now I think I'm a decent guitar player. I wouldn't say I'm good, but I say I'm decent. And right now I'm trying to teach myself how to play piano, and it's not fucking easy. But it's something I'm trying to teach myself how to do. Okay. And then with podcasting, like with this show, this isn't a podcast, but for shits and gigs, we'll say that this is podcasting. I don't think I'm terrible at this. I think I definitely have a lot of room for improvement here, but I don't think I'm terrible at it. And I think that like speaking is something that has not always come naturally to me. When I was in college, I was terrible, but I realized it and I knew it. And I knew like I'm really bad at talking to people. I'm really bad at carrying on conversation. I'm really bad at these things. So I took steps to kind of help myself with that. I took an acting class because I thought that would help me bring me out of my shell a little bit. And it did. It really, really did. And then when I got out of college, I was talking to people a lot. So it was just kind of repetitions. And then because I was on the phone a lot for my job at the time. And then, 2 years ago, I started a podcast. And I had no ambition. I had dumb ambition. But I knew like the strategy I was using wasn't a great one. I was just kind of doing it for fun and doing, I had no delusions that this was like destined for success or anything like that. But in my head, I thought, what, I'll do this podcast. It'll help me become a better speaker for sure. And not that I have to do it forever, but I'll just do it for a while and then we'll see what happens. And it really did help me become a better speaker because I forced myself to listen to myself and I forced myself to get behind a microphone like I am right now and talk and just make conversation with myself pretty much and with, and with the microphone. And, it did help me become a lot better of a speaker. So now I'm in a position where I can speak. I can, I have a lot of different skills that I can kind of implement and, do with some of this stuff. And, it's because I put in the fucking work to be able to have these skills to do this. Like, I didn't just roll off the couch when I was, when I graduated high school and be like, I'm going to do this. This hasn't always come naturally to me to do stuff like this. But I put in the work, and now I feel like I've gotten myself to the starting line. And now with this show, I can actually figure out, I can actually put in more work to figure out, okay, how can I get better at this? How can I actually make a run at doing this, on a regular basis? And that is something that I am I'm grateful for that. But I also like that clip from Conor McGregor. Like, you want what I have, you have to put in the fucking work that I do. And like a lot of people, I know a lot of people who look at me and they go, well, I can't do that. I can't have a show like that. I can't do that. It's like, well, you can, but you're going to have to put down, you're going to have to say no to a lot of things, right? And there's things you're not going to be able to do because you're going to have to be working on what you want to get good at. And, and like video games is a big one. I've never been a big video game guy. I've always been more interested in, doing my own thing. And, but I just see that like some people can kind of look at other people and go, well, they have this and they have something I don't. And that is like hard for me, but they've also, or that makes me feel inferior. But those people also have not put in one iota of work that it takes to get to a position to have anything like that. I mean, there's nothing that, like it just, it's like if you want like if you want success, if you want all that stuff, you got to put in the work. Like you got to put in the hours and you got to like take all the steps necessary to make that happen for yourself. And I just think that like it's a very common thing that you see people who just go, well, I can't do that. And it's like annoying as fuck. And it's like if you just, I think a lot of people, if they just kind of looked inward a little bit and been like, okay, what am I good at right now? What am I not so good at? What can I get better at? What can I improve upon? What do I want to do? What do I want my life to look like? All that stuff. I think that a lot of people would be much happier if they did that versus just like mindlessly scroll through Netflix. And there's nothing wrong with occasionally mindlessly scrolling through Netflix, but at the same point in time, have some things you're working on and put in some work on something. It doesn't matter what it is, but put in some work on something and also understand that like the end game of whatever you're putting work in on. Like yeah, it's great to put work in on Call of Duty, but what's the end game there? Like what's that going to do for you? Like you as a person, you as a human being, what's that going to do? I don't know. Maybe it does something for people, but I couldn't tell you what that is. But just like, and I don't mean to just go off on that, but like it just is like if a lot of people just want what they feel they can have, and the irony of that is that they can have it. They just don't want to put the work in, and they just don't want to put in the time that it takes to get good at something. And it's unfortunate because I think a lot of people could get really good at different things if they just put the work in, but nobody wants to be disciplined about it. Nobody wants to put that work in, and nobody wants to do that. So I get why it doesn't happen, but I think like it is possible for whatever you want in life to happen. You just have to put the fucking work in. Like that, bottom line. You just do. So I love those two quotes from Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor is somebody that I looked up to for a long time. Some of his antics outside of the cage, what have you, have not been great, but just the brash Irishman who talks shit and backs it up. I love that. So I wanted to feature him on Teachings of Titans, and shout out to Conor McGregor for that one. But yeah, now we're just going to go into a little freestyling thing. I got rid of the graphic for freestyling just because, whatever, but we'll just do it. This is the 6-for-1 freestyle. So this is just where I can talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. And I don't know what I want to talk about, honestly. I mean, I know I got a little fired up there for the fitness freaks thing and the problem with these gyms and talking about people are going to get hurt. But that's like something I actually think about on a regular basis. Whenever they tell me to do those things, whenever I see them giving really bad fitness advice, I'm just like, you guys are going to hurt people. Like, it makes me cringe inside. And I've done the whole I tried the whole personal training thing for a week. And and it wasn't for me. Not for me. Sorry. That's for you. But it just, and again, I'm sure it's not easy running a gym, and I'm sure that that's not the easiest job to have. But at the same point in time, like, you got to at least let people who know what they're doing do what they do and not put them in danger by telling them to, go slower, be more in control. It's like, bitch, I'm in control. Like, I don't know what you're saying here. Like you say I'm not in control. Watch me do it and tell me I'm not in control. Just I don't want to get hot about it again, but my God. But no, so right now is kind of an interesting time in my life, right? Like it doesn't escape me how interesting this time in my life is right now because I'm starting doing this show. I am, I got a lot of things cooking right now, and it's hard. It's hard when your life starts to change. It's really fucking hard because it feels hard. I mean, it feels bad. Like there are things about it, and when you start to take on more responsibility, and when you start to put yourself in positions where, you are a leader. There's always there's a good side and there's a bad side, and the good side you kind of when you think about it in your head, you kind of play up the good side of like, yeah, I love the extra responsibility. I think I can lead people and manage people in certain ways or whatever. But then there's the B side, which is like, or the bad side, which is like when you're trying to lead people, a lot of people don't want to be led. A lot of people don't want to be led. They don't want to be kind of, they want to lead, but they don't have the skills to lead or, whatever. And it's tough. And for me, like I have just kind of gotten to the point where I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the uncomfortable. I'm okay with the uncomfortable feeling of, this sucks. I'm okay with, the uncomfortable feeling of confrontation. I'm okay with the uncomfortable feeling of, this feels different. I feel like my limits are stretching. And I talked about this in the very first episode with the whole Coach K thing, but whenever you change limits, you're going to look bad and you're going to fail. Yeah, that was a Coach K quote. But it's true. Like it's not going to just happen right away. And, whenever when your life starts to change and you start to kind of go through a metamorphosis and take on more responsibilities and, all that stuff, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows right away. And it's not gonna just come naturally. You're gonna have to work at it. You're gonna have to figure it out. You're gonna have to do all that stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like it's I've got a lot of things in the works. My plate is pretty full right now. In terms of what I've got going, and it's gonna get even more full. I have a feeling here. So, and it's just difficult. It's just difficult, but I mean, we're working through it and kind of figuring it out one day at a time, one forward step at a time, all that stuff. So as hard as it is at sometimes, I think it's worth it, and yeah. But that is going to wrap up this episode of 6 for 1. I am beyond exhausted right now. It is late as fuck. And I'm going to wrap this episode up here. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. My name is P.A.U.L. Paul. You can follow this show on Instagram and TikTok at 6 for 1 show. We're in the process of getting a Facebook page up and running, so we'll have clips on Facebook. You can follow the YouTube at 6 for 1. Obviously, if you're watching the show, you're watching it on the YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Again, like I said, I'm really tired, so this stuff is kind of challenging. But no, you can follow me on Instagram at ApaulWorld. I will talk to all you beautiful bitches in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Later.